Hello and welcome to Foria's YouTube channel. We are so excited to have our guest today, Jen from the Women's Earth Alliance, which is an incredible nonprofit organization that is supporting women and the environment all over with all these incredible projects globally. And we've been working with the Women's Earth Alliance for a few years and supporting their work. And so we wanted to bring Jen on to speak about impact and what she's excited about, and so that you can know more about how important this organization is and the work they're doing in the world. So welcome, Jen. Thanks for being here with us.
Thank
And for
you.
those of you that don't know me, I am Kiana Reeves. I am Foria's Chief Intimacy Officer, and I lead all of our education. And we're really excited to be having this conversation. So Jen, I'd love if you could introduce yourself and tell us a little more about your work in the world of Women's Earth Alliance, and then we'll dive into our questions.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the opportunity to share our story with the world. And we are just so profoundly thankful for your partnership and your support. I mean, without partners like you, we could not do this work in the world. So thank you for that. And I am our Special Initiatives Lead here at Women's Earth Alliance. I've been with the team for about 4 years, and I've been working on these issues and the interface of women's leadership in the environment for about 20. So these are topics that are really close to my heart, and I am really passionate about it, and I just can't wait to share more with you and your community.
Yay! Oh, good. I can't wait to dive in. This is something that for Foria as a brand, and I'm drinking my tea here today so that we can really
Perfect.
go deep.
I love it.
But Foria as a brand and in our culture, since we started, the environment has played a very crucial role in how we've made all of our decisions. Everything from how we source botanicals, who we work with, who's growing, how we're making these products, but also particularly our work is focused on women and women's pleasure and women's health. But not the other side of that, but the full picture of what it means to be a woman in the world in a very interesting time, we shall say,
Lightly put,
of being a human is this work that you are really holding the mantle of, you and the Women's Earth Alliance, which is how important it is for women to be leaders in the environmental space. And so I would love, as you kind of set us up, can you share the origin story of the Women's Earth Alliance? What inspired your creation, and what's your core mission?
Absolutely. Our origin story is really special and near and dear to our hearts. It was born back in 2006, so 18 years ago. We're looking at our 20th anniversary coming on the horizon, but it actually was a collective of about 30 different women from 26 countries, and they all gathered together in Mexico City with this beautiful shared vision to build an alliance that would basically put an end to environmental and gender-based violence. These leaders came together and they started sharing strategies, and they were really woven through this vision to conserve threatened ecosystems, transform health systems, launch sustainable micro businesses, protect indigenous sovereignty, land rights, very huge ambitions, reducing toxic pollution and ensuring clean water access for communities. Very beautiful and big visionaries came together to really set an intention to really support that, the women and the women leaders all around the world, especially women working on the front line of climate crisis. So as these women together, they developed this set of guiding principles. They were very clear about identifying key challenges and strategies, and then also, just mapped out these regional hubs and started looking at their very first projects. And so, kind of from this beautiful circle of 30 women, really did emerge, we like to say, kind of like a seed. This original vision just grew and grew and grew. And, through the incredible leadership of our co-founders, Melinda Kramer and Amira Diamond, our worldwide alliance continues to just design and implement these incredible initiatives that are really focused on protecting the earth, protecting ecosystems, and, to your point about women's health, promoting safe and equitable conditions for women and girls. Sort of our big vision is to ensure a just and thriving world. And I have to say, we have our impact report that's about to come out next week, which shows all of our amazing successes last year. And, here we are, nearly 2 decades later, and we've now catalyzed the efforts of over 52,000 women. These women that are leading, they're all leading environmental initiatives, and this expands globally across 31 countries. And the ripple effect of that as we run the numbers for our impact report is exciting because it's showing that we've had an impact of about 24 million people through the work of this beautiful network of leaders that started with a seed and a circle almost 20 years ago. So it's
Well,
really amazing.
I got goosebumps and full body shivers when you were
Yeah,
telling like the origin story, right? Because it's really about our collective ability to dream, to vision,
exactly.
yeah, to vision something different. And there's something so special about women's capacity to do that, and
Yeah,
the way that our nervous systems are wired for connection and social community, and the
yeah,
way that that healing work ripples
right.
out into the world. Like we need that. We need
Yeah.
to be in those spaces just as much as the world needs those spaces. So,
Yeah, and as you said, we're intrinsically designed. It's part of our makeup.
yeah,
It's how we're programmed.
yeah, so amazing. So, I think there's this really interesting piece, this vital piece of your mission, which is centered around this idea that when women thrive, the earth thrives. And there's
Yes.
so much research to support this. And this is not just like it's not just like a nice concept. Yeah, like when women are happy, the
Yeah,
earth is happy. This
right.
is backed by so much science, so much research, so many
Yeah,
communities show this. So this is core to your
yeah.
mission. And can you just elaborate on some of those principles and why that matters?
Absolutely. I mean, this really is sort of, our theory of change. This really is the intrinsic thread that ties all of our work together. And, the idea is sort of this multiplier effect, right? If we work with local women leaders who, they build upon other leaders. So we might start with one woman and that will then become 10. And those 10 leaders will then become 100 and then 1,000 and then more and more and more. And so those, that intrinsic community and ripple effect really is that theory of change. And by providing long-term investment and support to these, to not just the leaders but the communities, we're able to ensure that they really can deepen and scale the impact of their own solutions. Right, we don't go into communities and stamp like this is what you should do. These are their solutions to their communities barriers and challenges. And with these resources, we not only are able to scale their own initiatives, but we can also help them teach others in their community and keep that ripple effect going and really helping the earth thrive. We really do believe that when women thrive, the earth thrives.
It's so true and it's so real. And it reminds me, women like, and I would say the female body in particular, which isn't always synonymous with women, but the female body is wired to care for life because we gestate, we give birth, and we often are at the center of the parenting. And so there is this inborn understanding of caring for outside of ourselves that
Right.
requires us to not just take care of our kids, but to understand the mechanisms where that care and support comes from, which is
Yeah.
like the earth, where our food comes from, where our water
Yeah.
comes from, where our habitat, like we are animals, we are just
Yeah.
creatures living
It's
on a
life.
planet.
Yeah.
And we're dependent upon the planet. And so
Yes.
when those core needs are met, when there's water and access to food and access to
Exactly.
safety and education, it feels like there's this inherent understanding of protection and how vital that is. And so I would love to know more about
Yeah.
what are some of these key global issues that Women's Earth Alliance focuses
Yeah.
on, and what are some of the initiatives you're doing to empower the women in the communities that you support?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of our key issues are the exact ones you just mentioned. So, I'll just share a little bit more of the depth and complexity behind those issues just to give, this beautiful landscape, starting with food security. Women produce most of the world's food, yet, they own less than 10% of tidal land. So, for example, in Southeast Asia, women farmers might have crops that yield, 20% or even 40%, lower than those farmed by men because they lack access to seeds, they lack access to best practices or access to technologies or access to the market. So, if women had the same access to those resources, their farm production in developing countries could increase by 30%, and with the ability to feed, 100 million people and reduce world hunger. Now, these are facts. These aren't like you said, this esoteric idea that, women are great for the environment. Like, these are real numbers that have to do with massive global challenges that we face, and the fact that women have the ability to bring solutions to the table that are truly profound, in addressing hunger. It's really phenomenal. And water access, like you mentioned, women spend about 200 million hours a day collecting water. Often it's really unsafe to drink. A lot of the younger women aren't able to go to school and get an education because they have responsibilities to collect water. So, part of what we do as an organization is we help empower women to design and lead their own water projects, and, being able to kind of turn this traditional cultural practice on its head, so that more people are, especially more women, are able to feel resourced and have that ability. Climate change, women make up 80% of climate refugees. We are about 14 times more likely to die in a climate related disaster than men.
Wow.
And especially as we are seeing, no matter where you are in the world, the climate crisis is here. It's here, it's today, it's happening, it's affecting all of us. Women are experiencing greater health challenges, economic, the social crisis of that. And so these are things that we can really help. We can equip women with skills and resources so that they are able to sort of lead this climate adaptation and the mitigation efforts in their communities. And, and to your point, health and safety is just, it's a truly profound issue that I think we need to be talking a lot more about. We try to help address this disproportionate health burdens, that women are facing from environmental toxins, increased violence in areas, especially areas that are going through environmental destruction. There's a tremendous amount of violence that's affecting the communities. And so we really want to be able to help promote safer and healthier communities, and working with these women leaders is a great solution and step forward to be able to do that.
It's so important. And it's so interesting. I think some of what your work highlights is how connected everything is. Like,
Exactly. So good.
so someone who hasn't done the research your organization has might not correlate environmental destruction with domestic or sexual violence.
Exactly.
And the fact that we see those two things escalate at the same time, that they're interrelated, or
Yes.
that lack of access to water and food also correlates to lack of access to education
Exactly.
and empowerment in communities. Like, you're connecting dots to really show that
Yeah.
it's all interconnected. And so we really have to look at the whole picture.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And so I think about this a lot as a mother. I have two young kids, and,
Oh,
um, as a single mother for a long time. And when you are under-resourced in your community, your number one priority is safety for your kids, always. And
yeah.
so to be able to do anything else outside of that, other than be in just survival mode,
Yeah.
and then we see the generational impact of when mothers and children are centered and cared for, and how different those children become, how they have
Yeah.
much less, I would say, the trauma of
I was
not being
just
able
about
to
to
be cared,
say,
and so
that's
this,
exactly it.
yeah, and we could go into this forever, but it's just
Yeah,
so
and that
important.
starts from and that starts from the womb,
Yes,
right? So
absolutely.
as you're carrying a child, if you're living in an environment where there's so much scarcity, whether that's food or water on top of domestic violence, your baby while she's in the womb is sensing that and feeling that and taking that in, and that's laying the foundation of, the entire path forward. So, resourcing basic needs, safety is a basic need. Food and water are basic needs. And so these are really intrinsic pieces of the solution moving forward, especially when you're talking about your children.
Yeah. Safety relationally,
Exactly.
basic need. And
Yeah.
all of these things are so close to my heart. So I'm so
Yeah.
touched that this is just so important.
I
I
know.
have no
It
more
really
words
is.
other than that.
Get me a mountaintop.
Yeah, exactly. So can you share a few stories of a woman or a community or a project that you've worked
Yeah.
on that has really transformed because of Women Earth
Yeah.
Alliance's support?
Yeah, there are so many. I feel like we could chat for hours just about our stories. And if anyone hasn't visited yet, we have a YouTube channel, Women's Earth Alliance YouTube channel, where there are beautiful videos that share stories about our leaders and our programs. And so, we don't have time to go into all of it today, but if you're having a bad day and you need to feel hope in the world, go to our YouTube channel because you will be so inspired. One that I really wanted to share with you comes from Nigeria, and it's this just force of nature woman. Her name is Alanike, and she was actually a founding member of Women's Earth Alliance, and she took part of that co-design of what is this going to look like way back in 2000. And about 2 years later, she participated in our first ever women in water training program that actually happened in Kenya. And then from there, she launched her own nonprofit. And this nonprofit is still running today. It's called Women's Initiative for Sustainable Environment, or WISE. Perfect acronym. And they're dedicated to improving health and protecting the environment, supporting women to promote and sell these clean cook stoves in their environment. So really focusing on the health of the women that are especially in the huts and they're cooking and what are they breathing in. So she's really invested into the health of women in her communities. And now she's our program lead for all of Nigeria.
Wow.
And the collaboration between WIA and WISE, which is her nonprofit, is ongoing. And it's just had this really transformative impact in sub-Saharan Africa. They have distributed over 60,000 clean cook stoves across Nigeria.
Wow,
It
that's
is
incredible. That's
amazing.
incredible. Wow.
Yeah. And she's been working with, gosh, almost 2,000 eco entrepreneurs and advocates. And these are women that are really, really poised, right, to take their place and become the drivers of the whole clean energy movement in Nigeria. And then our whole East Africa program is learning from them. So it's, the expansion of this is, you might do a pilot study or a pilot project in one region, but that issue is a common issue that's tied to so many other countries and other regions. Clean cook stoves is not unique to Nigeria. This is an issue that is in need of all across East Africa. Same with water, same with, reforestation. So these women leaders it's so far beyond just their first initial community and what they're learning and what works. We're always learning from them and we're learning together. To me, she's just a rock star. I wanted to shine a light on.
That's amazing. And it really highlights the importance and value of grassroots,
Exactly.
bottom up, in people who are having these experiences, running point on
Yes.
resolving the issues that matter most to them, instead of some
Yeah.
huge, foreign aid. And I'm not versed in this, so I'm not going to talk too much about it, but instead of some huge top down organization coming in and telling other people what they need and what they need to do. So it just very
Yeah.
much highlights the importance there.
Right. And I often think about it. I've been blessed enough to spend quite a lot of time across Africa. It's a region that I'm really close to. Most of my time spent in Southern Africa rather than Nigeria. But I often think about the young girls in the community that are seeing someone like her and what she's doing in their community and having that visual representation of, oh, wait, that's possible. I can, become educated. I can be a community leader. I can make this incredible change in the world. And that to me always just makes me really excited and proud of our women leaders because you can see it in the community, that direct relationship between the next generation that's coming. It's really, really impactful and just beautiful
Yeah,
in my view.
to be able to see yourself in people that you admire that are leading you is
Yeah.
really, really invaluable.
Yeah, because like you said, it's not us going there as this, US funded nonprofit, leading the way. That's not our model. We intentionally work with local community leaders because it's their voices that need to be heard the most.
It's different, and this is a little bit of a digression, but both of my parents are teachers here in California.
Hmm.
And I've heard so many times, especially from my dad, who's been teaching forever, how frustrating it is when like bureaucracy steps into the classroom
Mm.
because he's there with the students and your
Right.
women are like there on the ground. And when someone who's
But
like has no real experience there comes in and says like, this is what you need,
yeah.
it's just repeating the same challenges over. It
Yeah.
creates more problems than solutions.
Yeah, and personally, I've gone through that life lesson. In my younger years, I would go to these really, really remote villages and I'd have all these ideas and I would say, oh, so what do you need? Do you want to be on social media? Do you want to learn this? Do you want to, do that? And they're like, we need to learn how to grow food.
Yeah,
And I was like, wow,
literally. Yeah,
and you're like, okay, so yeah, let's do that. That we can resource you, we can get you seeds, we can connect you with educators, we get, and so I think that it's really important for people to understand the livelihood and the day-to-day life of these people. It's just essential to learn from them and listen and let them be the lead to the solutions because they know what they need to do. They just
absolutely.
might need some support along the way, but let them lead it. And that's how change is going to happen.
Well,
Yeah.
and especially in the United States and in other Western countries where we have very easy access to clean water and clean food, that's not the thing that you are
Right.
habituated to. You don't think access to food because you've not had the experience of being hungry or not having access to
Yeah.
food. Like I haven't had that experience. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
me knowing or not knowing how to grow food, rather it's more about my interest in learning about it than it being a necessity.
Yeah. Yeah. Your literal livelihood, like live
Yes.
or die. Can I grow food? And can I have access to water? Like I said, I've spent a lot of time, especially in Southern Africa. And to this day, often when I pour a glass of water, just to have access to clean water, I often put it in like a little wine glass or something to celebrate it. And I take a moment and I go, this is such a gift. This is such a gift. Because when you live in a place where you don't have that, you realize just how precious it is. And taking that into your gratitude each day and helping other people around the world be able to have that. Yeah.
So one of the ways that Foria gets to support your work in the world is through 1% of our sales at checkout. You can choose to support Women's Earth Alliance. And I'm curious, like, how does this type of support or partnership with different brands and
Yeah.
companies allow you to achieve your mission? How important is that kind of funding for you?
It's so vital. I am lucky that I get to hold the relationship piece of all of the business partners that we work together with. And, partnering with brands like Foria, it just really just plays a really critical role. It's critical in helping us achieve our mission. These collaborations provide us with obviously financial resources that are needed to support, these grassroots women leaders. And as we said, these women really are creating these lasting community-driven solutions in the face of, most pressing environmental challenges. And so without your support, we're not able to help resource them. But what I think what makes partnership kind of particularly meaningful, it's not just about the funds. Obviously, the funds are vital, they're essential, it's absolutely what our projects need, but it's also about our shared values. It's about our collective commitment to sustainability and to women's health. The more that we are able to engage in these partnerships, we're able to raise that level of awareness, especially around the intersection of gender equality, climate justice, environmental stewardship. You have this beautiful platform to an audience that we don't have access to, but you do. right? And so these types of collaborations, they allow us to really amplify those voices and shine a light on the work and the stories that are happening with these women, and saying like we are supporting this because it's really important. And that kind of ensures that their impact is recognized at a much larger scale with a much more diverse audience, right? Like, they also don't have that sort of access that you have to be able to share the story. And Foria's commitment to us, it's been several years of supporting our work, and that really, supports our ability to implement and sustain these critical programs. Like we talked about, it could be resources to women farmers in different regions. It could be, facilitating leadership training, helping women that are on the forefront of eco-entrepreneurship. It could be clean cook stoves. It could be water. I mean, these issues are so vast, but it really is a direct way for brands like Foria to align your values, with these really tangible, real world solutions. And they make a significant difference, in the lives of women, their children, their communities, and of course, the overall health of our planet. So, I think it is really important. It is really profound. We are really thankful.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. I'm really glad to hear that. It makes us proud. It makes our whole team proud to know that as we do our work that supports
Right.
women's sexual health and intimate health, that we also get to support organizations like yours and all of the other organizations and communities you're connected to in
Yeah.
your truly vital missions to
Yeah.
support and change the world. So it makes us
Yeah.
feel, it makes us like get up every day and get to keep giving our energies. So for those of our audience, as we share this, who are hearing about Women's Earth Alliance for the first time, what are
Yeah.
some simple ways that they can support your mission? How can they get involved? What helps you the most with individuals?
Yeah, I would say, first and foremost, we do have this 20th anniversary campaign coming up that we just launched. It's called Rising Tides, Rising Women. It's all on our website, a beautiful video that shares the story. And, we really have a vision of accelerating this initiative of wanting to support maybe 15,000 women leaders, to protect our planet and end the climate crisis. So any kind of support for that initiative and that campaign is tremendously valuable at this time as we look upon the horizon of our 20th anniversary. Secondly, just sharing the word, having conversations like this, talking about women-led climate solutions with your family, with your friends, following us on social media platforms and sharing that out there. That peer-to-peer support is really valuable. You can always purchase something from one of our partners like Foria, and we have many funding partners that are all listed on our website that give back to us. So supporting them helps support us. And then I would say, start becoming curious and participate in your own local community. Look around and see what calls to you, because everyone is different and there's lots of different ways for each individual to become part of this movement and part of the solution. And it can happen in small day-to-day ways. It can happen in really big, grand, global ways, and everything in between. So, paying attention to what you're called to, what is your heart speaking to? Is it a particular issue? Maybe you're really fired up about, plastic pollution and you want to tackle that, or you want to get involved, or maybe it's a region that you really love. Maybe you went to Bali one time and it just made your heart soar and you want to get more involved. I mean, we have over 100 women leaders in all across Indonesia, right? So I think there's a lot of ways to help this and be part of our community.
I love that so much. And for me, it's this piece of what matters to you outside of your own life, your own individual
Yeah.
experience. What moves you?
Yeah.
What are you devoted to beyond your own survival and happiness
Yeah.
that connects you to the world at large?
Right.
And I don't remember who I heard this from, but I know for a fact that the research shows one of the best ways to like get out of depression, to get out of
Mm.
anxiety, to get out of the kind of self-focused,
Yeah.
self-referential places that we can go, particularly in highly westernized cultures, highly individualistic societies, is
Yeah.
service,
Yes.
is being in real acts of service that remind you that
Very
you
true.
You're part of the world at large.
Connection.
Yeah. And you're subject to the world at large,
Exactly.
even if,
Yeah. I
yeah.
gave a talk quite a long time ago, maybe 5 years ago. And one of the things I shared was a very personal talk. And I shared, sometimes it's not about where you're at in your journey, but where you can be in someone else's. And I really believe that sometimes when you're stuck in your head or you feel stuck in your life or you watch too much of the doom scrolling and you're just, you feel like the world is falling, take a moment to pause and say, okay, there might be a lot going on in here, but I have the ability to step into and support another person. And it might be as simple as smiling at someone at the coffee shop. It might be looking at something locally that you can get involved with. It might be diving into a global initiative like what we have and saying, this is it. This is it. This is my calling. I want to get involved. But I couldn't agree with you more. I think that connection piece that's the medicine. That's the medicine right there.
I think that's a beautiful note to end on, is it's so important. We're in, strangely, this world where there's so much division. There's such an echo chamber. People feel so disconnected from each other, even though we have more quote
I
unquote
know.
connection touch points than
Right.
ever.
Right.
That really the antidote to loneliness and fear and disconnection and the doom that a lot of people are feeling
Yeah.
is commitment
Yeah.
to service and connection to the world at large. So
Absolutely.
yeah, it's really an honor to hear your stories and to support all y'all's work. And we're so happy to be a partner to you in that and continue to do so. So thank you. And thank you to everyone who's watched this interview. If you were touched by it, please share it with someone else. And please share Women's Earth Alliance, their work, with everyone you know, because it truly has the power to impact massive change and already
Yeah.
has. So we're
Yeah.
glad to be a part of it.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to share our story and for all of the support that you have already contributed to our organization. We are truly so, so thankful. So gratitude to all of you.
Mm.